Football is officially in the air. The team in purple just wrapped up its joint practice against the Denver Broncos today. My name is Gabe Henderson here inside the TCO studios, and welcome to another edition of U.S. Bank Vikings Training Camp Live. Coming up on the show today, we hear from the fourth-year tight end Tyler Conklin, as well as Eric Smith. Vikings team reporter Eric Smith joins the show, as well as Broncos team reporter Sidney Jones. And we'll wrap up the show today talking about the big boys up front. I'm talking about the offensive line position breakdown here for the Minnesota Vikings. But before we get to all of that, let's roll the tape and let's get to the highlights from today. Starting with the one and only Von Miller, getting the fans excited. This is the Skull chant. We don't see many opposing teams doing that, but we got Kellen Mond here. Glad to have him back. And whoop! Failure. I don't know what's better, the catch or the name, but Kellen Mond again to Zach Davison, 6'7". That's all you can do, just throw it up and he'll come down with it. I forgot to tell you, Dalvin Cook is really good at football. You see it right here with just another explosive run. Looking forward to seeing more of that, as well as seeing more of this connection, number 8 to 18-19, Adam Thielen. Such a great practice for both of those guys. And then you got Kellen Mond here right again, throwing it to the one and only Amir Smith-Marset. Looking forward to hearing his name next week. If you throw it into the woods, trust me, Xavier is going to come down with it. Another interception for him this offseason. Great training camp for him thus far. And we end it with Mr. Consistent himself. I'm talking about Irv Smith Jr. Speaking of consistent, though, the tight end group has been the most consistent group all training camp. And while Irv Smith Jr. deserves a lot of that credit, let's not forget about Tyler Conklin, who has showed up and showed out almost every single day at training camp this year. Vikings.com, Tatum Everett caught up with Tyler Conklin to get his thoughts heading into year number 4.
Thanks, Gabe. Joined now by tight end Tyler Conklin. Today, Kirk Cousins was at the podium, and he said, despite it being your fourth year or your fourth NFL season, it feels like it's your 10th. When you hear a veteran QB like Kirk say that about you, what does that mean?
Yeah, hearing something like that means a lot. I think our whole room in general, me, Irv, Brandon, the new, Zach and Shane, we all really take pride in, knowing what we're supposed to be doing. We have a lot of different jobs at tight end, so we really take pride in knowing our assignments and doing our things. But, yeah, hearing something like that from your quarterback definitely means a lot.
Practices or training camp is going to look a little different now with the Broncos in town. What do you hope to accomplish during these joint practices?
Yeah, it's going to be really nice to be able to go out there, see a different defense, play against people that maybe don't necessarily have an idea what you're necessarily going to do on certain plays, and just go out there and for both teams to get better this week and going into the first preseason game.
Between Irv Smith Jr. and yourself, you're a tandem that's expected to replace the void that Kyle Rudolph left. How does your play style and Irv's play style complement one another?
Yeah, I think it really starts with me and Irv just have fun playing together. We're good friends. We enjoy playing together. And we take pride in being all-around tight ends. We both can run routes and do things of that nature. We can also put our hand in the dirt and block when need be and do whatever, is called upon us. So I think we just, we balance each other out. We do a little bit of everything. Speaking
of balancing each other out, I feel like every famous tandem has a nickname. We've got Ricky Bobby, Shake and Bake, or Woody and Buzz Lightyear. Is there a tandem name yet?
It's not a tandem name. I mean, we both got a lot of tattoos, so I guess it's going to have something to do with tattoos, but we're going to probably need some brainstorming first.
Yeah, speaking of, I was wondering, if you guys hit certain benchmarks this season, is there a matching tattoo on the table?
Well, I'm sure if we accomplish the big one, then we'll be talking about something like that.
All right, well, best of luck this season. Thank you so much. Have a great time out there at training camp. We'll see you on Saturday.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tatum. We now welcome in Vikings team reporter Eric Smith and Broncos team reporter Sidney Jones. And Eric, both of you guys were both out there today. And Eric, I was on the Wilf deck earlier, and it was pretty shaky up there. We were trying to hold some cameras up there, but it looks like on the field that wasn't the only shaky thing that happened at practice today. No.
No, it was windy for sure, but the Vikings defense actually got off to a little bit of a slow start today, and that's not really what you want to see when the intensity was kind of ramped up with the Broncos on the field. So a little bit of a slow start, but the defense did pick it up, and a guy who stepped it up in my eyes was nose tackle Michael Pierce. He looked really good in his one-on-one reps. He batted down a Teddy Bridgewater pass at the line of scrimmage, and then he showed some muscle kind of getting through the interior for a sack. So Pierce was sort of the leader of the defense and kind of really led the way on the defensive line. But it was a slow start, but they kind of got going, and I think the Coach Zimmer will obviously have that group ready to go tomorrow for joint practice number 2.
Hey, Sydney, I think the best player on the field today was Jerry Judy. Like, hands down, he was making plays left and right. What did you see from him?
Absolutely, Gabe. I mean, from the start of camp so far, Jerry Judy has been phenomenal. He's kind of stepped in this season and looked kind of like a different person. You know, last year he struggled with drops, and he's definitely perfected that. Today he had a end-of-game scenario, probably the first real touchdown of the day. Teddy threw it to Jerry, deep pass. He beat Breland, waltzed it in 50 yards into the end zone, somersaulted into the end zone, then rolled around in the grass, very typical Jerry fashion. So he definitely had a good day. He also started one-on-ones, just smoked Mackenzie Alexander. Hate to say it, guys, but I mean, his route running ability is just amazing.
Yeah, to say the least, but I'm sure Minnesota Vikings fans do not want to hear about Jerry Judy having a day against us. But now is the time to make the mistakes. But I think one part of the phases of the game today, Minnesota Vikings fans will be happy about, right, Eric?
Yeah, and those special teams, and I know we're talking a lot about it, but after how poor that unit was last year in that third phase of the game, Mike Zimmer has placed a lot of emphasis on that this year, and Greg Joseph had a great day today. He was 6 of 6 overall on field goals with a long of 53 yards. He was 5 of 5 in a team drill, as we see here on the screen, and then in a situational drill at the end of the first half, he made a 33-yard field goal with a couple seconds left in the first half. So a good day for Greg. He's 6 of 6 today. I think overall in camp he's 30 of 36, which is about 83%. If he can do that in the regular season, that'll be just fine and an improvement on what the unit was doing last year.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for at this point in their career. But moving on to the offensive line position battle, Eric, 3 of the 5 positions are solidified right now. Center, Garrett Bradbury, right tackle, Brian O'Neill, and left guard, Ezra Cleveland. The other 2 spots are up for grabs. How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, we'll start with the tackle, and right now that's sort of Rashad Hill's position to lose, and that's mostly because Christian Darrisaw hasn't practiced. He actually wasn't out here today. He was the only player that wasn't at practice today. So Rashad is getting all the first-team reps at left tackle. So for now, it seems like it's going to be Rashad at left tackle. Brian O'Neill is going to be at right tackle, and he got some good praise today from Von Miller, and it shows the progress he's made.
He really did, Eric. Von Miller said that Brian O'Neill was one of the best right tackles in the league, and he said it was really fun going up against him today. And I don't know about you guys, but hearing praise like that from someone like Von Miller, he's got to be doing something right.
Ooh, from the 8-time Pro Bowler, 7-time first-team All-Pro. You can't ask for anything better than that. But moving to the guard position, Eric, how do you see things shaking up there?
Yeah, that's the other battle that people are really watching closely, and that's the battle at right guard. Right now, I think you have to give the edge to Oli Udoh, only because he was listed as the first-team right guard on the Vikings depth chart, which just came out yesterday, the unofficial depth chart. And then he's battling Dakota Dozier for that starting right guard spot. Wyatt Davis is a guy that had a lot of buzz coming into training camp, but he's mostly taking third-team reps right now, so there's still room for him to grow, and hopefully he can do that in the preseason. But that's sort of the only battle on the interior. Like you said, Ezra has moved from right guard to left guard. He's set at the left guard spot. Garrett is entering year 3 at center. We're looking for a big year from him. But that right guard spot is going to be very important, and it's obviously Udoh and Dozier right now who are battling for that starting spot with week 1 about 1 month away.
Absolutely. We all know the biggest question mark every here in Vikings country is who is going to protect the quarterback. And clearly there are some guys competing right there. But for you, Eric, last question. Christian Darrisaw, when he's 100% healthy, how do you see his process ramping back up?
I think it's going to take him some time, and there's a lot of expectation around him because he's obviously a first-round pick. So people want him to play and start right away, and that's to be expected. But he has sort of had an up and down camp, I'd say. Mike Zimmer said he's taken 1 step forward, 2 steps back. He's been out at practice in pads. He hasn't practiced in full, so we haven't seen him, doing full team drills yet. So that's what we really want to see. And until he can do that, it's sort of a waiting game with him. Once he gets back on the field, he has all the potential in the world. That's why he was a first-round pick. Like I said, it's just a little bit of a waiting game right now on Darrisaw. Yeah, for sure. A lot of people are expecting big things from his first year in Minnesota. Speaking of first year or first time in Minnesota, Sydney, this is your first time in Minnesota, right?
It is my first time in Minnesota.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's beautiful. You guys have a beautiful facility down here. I have to say it's a little more humid than I like being out in Denver. It's very dry out there, but thank you guys for having me here.
Well, we will see you again tomorrow. Eric, we'll see you again tomorrow as always. But thank you guys so much for joining U.S. Bank Vikings Training Camp Live. I'll let you guys get out the sun. Thank you. Well, guys, make sure you stay tuned to Vikings.com for the most up-to-date coverage of the team. We will have more highlights, more shows. Tomorrow is the last U.S. Bank Vikings Training Camp Live show, so make sure you tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. In the meantime, for Tatum Everett, for Eric Smith, and Sidney Jones, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you again for tuning into another edition of U.S. Bank Vikings Training Camp Live.